Hi, Justin Lobato here with Autogeek, and we are here in Hayward, California at the P&S headquarters, and I have the great opportunity to talk with Dave Phillips, one of the owners of P&S Products, and he is also the chemist. He is the brains behind the chemistry of the operation. What we want to do today is kind of a roundtable discussion about, what has come from his early years of, being a wildlife biologist and not really having a lot to do with the business side, and then jumping into it in the mid 80s, 86, and now taking it to a whole nother level. And of course, going over mixtures, chemistry, and how all that works. So Dave, thank you for joining me. And
thank you, Justin, very much. I appreciate it.
What got you, what triggered it? I know you went to school for marine biology. I'm sorry, take that back. Wildlife biology, pretty close, still animals in some way, shape, or form. But how did that path happen? I know you explained it to me earlier, but if you could explain it again.
So yeah, I was actually doing pretty much both in college. I did chemistry and a biology background. And at some point I needed to choose a major, and went towards biology essentially because it was more of a challenge to me at the time. I just felt like, and I love being outdoors. As I just mentioned to you, I'm gonna go hiking next week for a week and I cover about 90 miles through Yosemite. So outdoors is really a passion of mine.
Fast forward now, as you went through school, what did you have, or where did you have that epiphany to want to jump into the business side with the chemistry and start doing this?
Well, growing up with my father in P&S sales, and I was the guy that took apart my bike and polished my bike and put Rain-X on my bike, And so
they were chrome back then.
Yeah, well, no, it had some, it had the paint thing, on the tubes and stuff, and you'd always do the rims. Anyway, so, I always kind of had a passion for cleaning up things and doing that anyway. So, and I enjoyed, and I have the chemistry background at this point, and I thought, I can add a lot of value.
So you jumped on board in '86, and your first product technically was this Ultra Coat, which is now known as the UCP 1987.
Right. So getting out of college in chemistry is, there's not a lot of what this is called, which would be called surface chemistry. So there's a lot of makeup work that I had to do that I spent at the libraries in Stanford and going through a lot of information and finding out how to build emulsions, soaps, cleaners, all that sort of stuff. And this was one of my first trial and error projects, basically. I went through a lot of different formulations trying to come up with this product, and I was really happy with the results.
So that puts you more of like, if we talked in a kitchen, you'd be more the chef, right? Finding the raw materials to create the recipes and to formulate them. And how does all that work? And especially in someone who's so educated like you, how do you put that together? What does that look like from a consumer standpoint on trying to understand that?
I think the bottom line is understanding the various purposes and uses and what the chemistry actually does when it gets into the real world. And it's a collaborative environment. I mean, I know the mechanisms, I know the chemistry, but I work really well with manufacturers, research and development people with manufacturers, and then we turn around and I get good ideas from other industries. I see if I recognize a synergism there, and I pull them into ours and try it out. And then the big trick is to decide whether it's actually working, because there's still sales involved in the chemistry business.
Yeah.
And so then you need to come back and go, you throw 9 of them away, and then this is the one that's doing what it says.
So a lot of R&D.
It's a trial and error R&D, yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, now, and you have to have the idea of the direction you want to go.
Right, the goal of what you want the product to essentially do. Right. And that's where that comes into play, like you said, where you're doing that R&D, that trial and error, but not just testing here in California, but with having boots to the ground to say, with maybe some of the detailers within the industry to be able to give these products to challenge them in different geographic areas. Heat, humidity.
Makes a big difference. And we've had surprises over the years, just like I think probably every manufacturer has.
And what do you do when you get those types of surprises? How do you go back to the drawing board? How do you address those things?
The first reaction, honestly, is, well, it's not doing it here. I don't understand. But then you have to go farther. Yeah, then you have to go see what's going on, see if the descriptors that they're giving you are actually what they think they're telling you. And then I have to be able to see it, try it, and then work on correcting it. And that's just like if you have your car that only doesn't work, it only has something that it does every once in a while, you can't get the mechanic to fix it. So this, what we need to do is be able to test for it, see it, and fix it, right?
So that goes back to quality control. So you oversee, especially these 35 years plus now of doing this, you oversee the raw materials, you're overseeing how these are mixed, and you're able to make sure that that formulation, like a recipe, is dialed in exactly.
Right. Yeah, and there is a process, because the lab, I'm working in a 100-gram beaker with a mixer, and then at some point have to scale up to a 1,000-gallon batch. And that process is actually, something that we have to go through, and we do have kind of a process to get there. Definite process to get there, because you don't want 1,000 gallons of something you don't want.
Yeah, no, and that batch has to be crucially exact to everything.
Exact every
then
time.
It goes into the you got the mix, which is on point, and then you got the bottling. That's still priority as well, right? When you bottle these certain
There's
products.
also a whole art to packaging that people don't realize. I mean, there are degrees in packaging. I actually have a friend that has a degree in packaging from Davis. So it's a big deal. And so what we've done, sometimes through trial and error, but once we get a package that's working for us and a combination that's working, we like to stick with it because it's consistent.
Wow, well that's a lot of information. And just to skim the surface of your brain, and him being the chemist and the brains behind P&S of making all these wonderful products that you see here and of course online, thank you. Thank you very much, Dave. I appreciate it. And here's the thing, if you have additional questions, you can visit Autogeek, you could also visit P&S, but Dave, being able to sit down with him and talk about the chemistry, that's what makes this very unique in our industry, because we're able to get directly to the source and ask these questions, get these answers, and have solutions for a lot of these problems with automotive car care. So anything else you'd like to learn more about the P&S products, visit autogeek.com.